So you want
I asked him to bump it to the day.
Call this meeting to order. Commissioner Schaefer, would you lead the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. I'd like to remind everyone this morning that this is a public meeting and it is being both recorded digitally, video record, and a record kept by hand. So you are on record whenever you do speak here today, so keep that in mind. Our agenda is fairly lengthy. I will ask that when you come to speak before the board, that you come to the front, that you come to the podium there, to the microphone, that you identify yourself, give your address, speak clearly so it can be part of the record. We will begin today with, I believe we have some special recognition.
Right. By way of disclosure, I sent a memo to the Public Health Department indicating that we had an exciting announcement from the Oregon Health Authority, and would they all please come at 9 o'clock to hear it. Unfortunately, we don't often get those kinds of exciting announcements from them, and I misled you. We are, in fact, going to recognize our Employee of the Quarter. This group, the Employee Excellence Committee, was created to acknowledge and commend the efforts of employees who serve the citizens of the county efficiently and effectively with a focus on professional development and outstanding customer service. In that spirit, the committee wishes to share with you the nomination letters in excerpts from the peers who nominated this particular individual. Gloria Corona has been a dedicated staff member for Umatilla County Public Health for over 20 years. While many have come and gone from that department, Gloria has been a steady presence, keeping the financials in check and creating a positive atmosphere with her infectious laugh. Things run smoothly because of her attention to detail, her follow-up, and her communication. No one's birthday is forgotten, the cars are always maintained, and if you're not sure what county department handles a specific task, or if you need to know how much we spent or received in a given year, Gloria has the answer or knows who does. Need someone to cover for an absent receptionist? Gloria can do it. Recently, she completed a 2-week course for Spanish interpreting, which only shows that Gloria is still pursuing additional training to assist the department. She is invaluable not only to me personally, this is one of the quotes, but to our whole department. She often can be found helping out in the clinic, interpreting, or covering phones or the front desk when they're short-staffed. Gloria is positive and always goes the extra mile to ensure excellence. And I can assure you, during my 2 stints as interim public health director, I had a first-hand opportunity to see why Gloria is being honored. We are giving her a certificate. We have a little prize over here, and she gets a day off. So, Gloria, if you would please come forward.
So you're welcome down. All of us come down.
And don't sit in her chair.
I knew you were going to say something about that.
Right, oh, grab that.
Okay.
What's Bill in the Blues did there?
Love it.
Thank you.
She also gets the reserve parking spot.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how handy it's going to be, but Gloria also gets a reserved parking spot right out here. If you're wondering about the story, on my first day as interim director of public health, I came in and sat down at the head of the table. Gloria came in shortly thereafter and said, "Excuse me, Commissioner, that's my chair." So I've remembered it well ever since.
And she can probably scalp and resell that parking spot out there.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you, Health
There you
Department,
go.
for coming, and congratulations, Gloria.
Next item on our agenda would be acknowledgement of any previous minutes. Do we have any? No minutes to acknowledge. Are there any additions to the agenda? No agenda additions. We're at the point in the meeting now, item G on the agenda, that's public input. If anyone is here to speak to any matter that is not on the agenda, it's kind of open mic time. So if you have an item you wish to speak to the commissioners about that is not on the agenda, this is your time. Is there anyone here who wishes to do so? Seeing none, we'll move to the next item, the business items of the agenda. First item on the agenda is a hill climb event, and I believe we probably do have some folks here to speak to that.
Good morning, Commissioners. Bob Walder, County Planning Director. The first item is the hill climb, and the county processes these as an outdoor mass gathering. And that's when you have, anytime you have large gatherings out in the exclusive farm use zone of fewer than 3,000 people, and it's not anticipated to continue for more than 120 hours in any 3-month period. It's not considered a land use decision under statute. And so traditionally our office has processed a zoning permit with these that includes a site plan as well as important issues like parking, where if there's any food vendors, things like that. So we have received the zoning permit application for this gathering on Mr. Whitney's property, located at 41095 Taylor Lane, Pendleton. And this is the site of 2 previous hill climb events held in 2016 and 2017 you're probably familiar with. So with that, I believe there's some members of the public here to speak about it, and so I'll step away from the podium. Thanks.
Thank you, Bob. Are there those here who would like to speak pertaining to this event?
So these are different proceedings than what we're used to. So it's kind of nice, actually. You get to come talk to you guys. So we're from Yakima. My name's Tony Andreas, Northwest Nitro Nationals, Dry Creek Recreation. Address is, what's my address?
No, it's on Englewood, that's all I know.
Oh, 4015 Inglewood, Yakima, Washington, 98902.
And I'm Teresa Smith. My address is 509 South Johnson Street in Kennewick, 99336.
Tony, what was your last name?
Andreas, Andreas.
Were you the one that came last time?
No, that was Ron Dillon.
Okay, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah. So Ron Dillon's part of our national NAHA, North American Hill Climb Association. Ron and I are a part of a board. Ron does a huge event in Idaho, and Ron was trying to get something going here on James's property. We're in a predicament this year with Yakima County. I don't know if you guys have been reading the paper or any of that. We bought 522 acres. If we're able to put our hill climb on in Yakima County, it'll be our 9th year. And we're getting to the point where we're getting up to 8, 12.
We had
Close
between
to-
8,000 and 9,000 people last year.
So we're in a process of getting the land to become an off-road vehicle park. And the county's been fighting us tooth and nail the last couple of years with our event because they want it to be an off-road vehicle park immediately. But in the meantime, we still got to put this event on. It's a nationally televised event that we put on with MAV TV.
And part of a national series as
Yeah.
well.
So the stuff Ron's been doing out here is kind of a little bit smaller than what we put on up there. He hasn't. No, maybe he did have MAV TV out here and televising it
I'm not
for
sure.
a spin.
Was it? She
Yeah.
went.
Yeah. Anyhow, we find out Tuesday what we're going to be able to do in Yakima or Yakima County. So we're here in case we need to move it, and we'd love to move it here on James' property. So
And ultimately, eventually looking at having a second hill climb event here that would be stationary here in Pendleton.
We want to go look at, James got some other property out here we're going to go look at today, that, because he's reclaiming your property out here. Okay. Anyway, he's got some other property that we want to go look at today and see if we couldn't possibly do something with that property and get it on the circuit and be able to televise there too, so.
So do you have a weekend that you're looking at doing this?
First weekend of May?
May 3rd through 5th.
Yeah.
I spent quite a bit of time with Ron. In my previous career, I was working with the sheriff's office, and we were coordinating with law enforcement, EMS. But if I remember, you guys brought your own medics, or did you have Pendleton Fire and Ambulance out there?
I don't know what Ron does here.
It was Pendleton?
Yeah.
Okay.
We use the local fire department
So,
at our
yeah.
event.
Okay. So I just want to make sure that you would make sure and have, and I think, is this an AMA-sponsored event, sanctioned event?
No, it's NAHA,
It's
North
NAHA.
American Hill Climb Association.
North American, okay.
AMA is all back east.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the West Coast version. of it.
Yeah. of the
Okay,
AMA.
so, but you still have to follow the same type of rules, right?
Oh,
Like
absolutely. Absolutely.
paramedics and ALS, okay, gotcha. So full disclosure, I used to be a parts guy at a big motorcycle shop in Boise, Idaho, so.
Oh, God.
I'm familiar with you guys. But I want to just make sure that you guys, if you do come here, have the proper medics and make sure the sheriff is on board with law enforcement. And
We actually got a portfolio that we can hand to you guys.
Okay.
And give you,
And I'm probably putting the cart in front of the horse, because until you find out what's going on with Yakima, so.
Yeah.
We can provide you with, we have a very detailed event plan that we implement with a list of our staffing, and it includes EMS as well. But
Okay.
like he said, this will be our ninth year putting on this particular hill climb event, 9 years without incident, knock on wood, as they say. But we make sure that we have all of those elements in place, because
Okay.
safety
to
first.
give you an idea, one of our sponsors is, let's change the name, used to be
Lifelight.
Lifelight.
Yeah.
They come to our event and they stage there. So if anybody gets hurt, they fly them
Yeah,
out.
yeah, I'm familiar with them.
And then, I think we use everything we use in Sunnyside, from the medics to fire department to the sheriff's department, all that stuff. Yeah, we're all involved with all of them.
Okay.
So, absolutely. It's important to have those people there.
If that does come that you're going to end up in Pendleton, I'd like to work pretty close with you on that.
No,
so.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And a side question to Bob. Bob, these questions are also part of the permit for the mass gathering?
Yeah, on the site plan, we do cover areas of, where camping's going to be located, things like that. But any coordination with law enforcement and other departments within the county or functions would be up to them to coordinate. And I can, we would probably notify, county environmental health if there's food being served there, things that we know about. And I'm assuming we could contact law enforcement as well and just let them know about the event. But a lot of those issues are typically left up to the applicants.
We have a whole list that we do. I mean, a whole from Ed down at the sheriff's department. We're personal in Yakima County. We do the same thing here. Everything. If we give you this packet, you guys open it up and you're going, oh my God, really? You give me all this information too? It's good information for everybody to know. That way,
Well,
you know what we're doing, what's going on.
anytime you bring in 9,000 people into our community, the sheriff's office is going to want to know about it.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
We don't expect there to be 9,000 at this particular event. I mean, that would be our event that's 9 years in Sunnyside. Moving location like that.
We're only going to get a percentage.
okay.
Although I think it was more as I recall, it was more popular than you anticipated when you were here before.
I wasn't actually able to
Yeah.
attend
It was
that event,
more people than you anticipated. I mean, Melinda was our on-site representative. I'll have to refer to her.
but good.
I know
I
the
think
first
you're
year
correct.
Ron did very well, and then it kind of depleted from there. And I think a lot of it had to do because he partnered up with the Bike
Bike
Fest.
Week, yeah.
And it kind of became a conflict of interest between them and the Bike Fest or something, to my knowledge.
Okay.
But we're
you.
standalone. We're going to stand alone like we always do.
Very good.
So,
All right.
okay.
Thank you.
Do you have any other questions for us?
I think Jim has something he wants to say.
Yeah, I think so.
Do I need to identify myself too then?
Yeah.
I think so.
Even though you're an icon, yes.
But, yeah, Jim Whitney, 101 Southeast 3rd Street, Pendleton, Oregon. These folks contacted me a month or so ago, and we've been talking, and they've had some obstacles which they identified up there in their county to try to get it done, and they may lose a year. But they've spent 9 years getting their deal put together. He says, listen, I don't have anything planned for that this year, so we can be your plan B if plan A doesn't work for them. So I'm very comfortable with what we're doing, and these guys have a great reputation. I've really built a strong program up there with, you get 9 or 10,000 people, somebody's liking what you're doing. So they'll bring a good product to town with good knowledge and really back it up with performance. So I don't have any concerns about it. I feel good about it. And then, as I mentioned, we're looking at some other property for some other things, maybe some long course 30-mile stuff on some property. So we're looking at 2 or 3 different kinds of ideas as well, but I think it would work well here. I can only commit that this year because we're in the process of, on this property down is about 300 acres of wetlands, and we're talking about reclaiming those wetlands with the project with the tribe. And so there will be another discussion we come to you commissioners on regarding moving the levees on Birch Creek as well as the Umatilla River, and that's in process with applications, and so there'll be some discussions that I know will come up. And what that is restoring that bottom ground back to its original 100-year ago position, where 100 years ago we wanted more farmland, so the river got moved over and the other creek got straightened out, and it made a nice block of farmland, but it's impacted the fisheries, and so the discussion is we want to do all they can to improve those fisheries for salmon and steelhead, and the tribe has figured out that up to 50% of the steelhead in their fisheries project come out of Birch Creek. So then I've said, okay, let's put a conservation program together out here and reestablish nature as it was, and so there will be quite a project that's going to be going on as an application with you guys to process that.
I'll be expecting to see you again.
You will, yeah. So I know I've got 1 year. I help these guys out this year for a plan B, and that's kind of what the direction this is, and I'm very supportive of what we're going to try to, what they're asking for. So.
Jim, just a quick question. When the first event was run, there was some concern about what it might do to the hillside and to the natural vegetation and so on. Could you speak to that?
Sure, and it does. We pre-irrigated that hill with water, so it was way deep in the soil, so there wasn't a dust bowl effect going on. And riders across the United States that came to that said that's the best dirt of anywhere in the United States. I mean, they just really liked that hill. But after that, then they came in and raked it back and seeded it in. And then the last year there on the property, they came back in and raked it in and seeded it. You can see a trail, but there are no ditches or ruts from snow, rain runoff, or anything else. It's all reestablished itself. You can see a trail where fresh grasses and things like that, you can see it, but there's not a damaged look to it. Yeah.
I had heard that the grass had come back fairly well.
Yeah, it did. You bet.
Very good.
So, and it's not a hillside that's been doing any good for anybody for a lot of years.
You haven't been
crazy to want to go up in the motorcycle too.
You haven't been grazing it much, huh? You haven't been putting cattle out to graze there much.
Cattle won't even go on that deal. Anyhow, that's what I know today. Any questions for me? Oh, I was going to tell you, Hodaka motorcycles, and you probably were dealing with those.
Oh, I used to ride them.
My father was the guy that put all that together with another guy in Athena. That all went through Athena with the Hodaka motorcycle.
Yeah, and Pabatco, and yeah. Yep, Hodaka days. You should come out there. It's in June. Yeah. So.
Good. Okay.
So Doug, is this a presentation or do we have an action?
It's a presentation. Yeah,
Okay,
you don't have to take
very
any
good.
action.
No action?
No.
Is there any further discussion on the event? Any further presentation?
No, but I think we benefit from the fact it isn't something new. We have 2 years
Yes.
of experience. I think that's useful.
And hopefully in the future it will work out. If you have to come here this year, we welcome you here. It'll be nice to have the event. If it doesn't work out and you actually get your event, I guess it works out for you and you have your event in Yakima, then hopefully we'll be able to get something going here in the future for a second event.
Absolutely. We're Jim's going to go look at some of the property.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next item on our agenda is a proclamation regarding the 2020 census, proclaiming April 1st, 2019 as the one-year countdown to the 2020 census. And as everybody knows, the census determines the number of seats in the U.S. Congress and affects the distribution of over $675 billion in federal spending throughout the United States. So we have Robert Walder.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. The item before you is a board order to proclaim April 1st as the one-year countdown to the 2020 census. Since about the start of the year, we've been working with the Census Bureau on a variety of census-related activities, including establishing what's called a complete count committee, which promotes participation in the census. And our committee, which is the next item on the agenda, is establishing that steering committee. But we recently met, and the Census Bureau, our representative is Sarah Bushshore from, she lives in the Salem area, but she's been permanently assigned to represent Umatilla County and be a partnership specialist for the census. She was out here and noted that on April 1st, the governor will be proclaiming a one-year countdown for the state of Oregon, and it's been suggested in order to increase interest and promote the census that local communities do the same thing. So that's what we're here to do today. Basically, the $675 billion, if you figure that out, it amounts to about $2,500 in federal funding per Umatilla County resident that will be made available. So it has some pretty big implications to our community. It's also vital to planning around growth and economic development and even housing needs. So it has some pretty big implications. So what we'll be doing is hopefully approving this order, this proclamation today, and then I'll be sending it to other Umatilla County communities so they can use the language and hopefully do the same thing to at least gain interest in their communities. Any questions?
Let me read what it proclaims in order BCC 2019-017. It says, now therefore, after it summarizes what Bob has just said, it says, now therefore the Board of Commissioners orders that Umatilla County is committed to partnering with the U.S. Census Bureau and the Umatilla County Complete Count Committee to promote participation in the count by encouraging people in Umatilla County to place an emphasis on the 2020 census, and by participating in events and initiatives that will raise overall awareness of the 2020 census and ensure the full and accurate count in 2020, and in recognition of the importance of the census, proclaims April 1, 2019 as the one-year countdown to the 2020 census.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I move that we adopt Board Order 2019-017.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to adopt Order BCC 2019-017. Further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item.
All right, and then the next item is to establish the Umatilla County Complete Count Committee. This is a steering committee made up of various geographic areas of the county, and we have several community and tribal members on there, and communities of different size being represented throughout the county. And basically, as I mentioned, the role of the Complete Count Committee is to promote participation in the census and spread the word to our communities leading up to the census. The Census Bureau really recognizes that no one knows their communities better than the people that live there, and so the goal is to engage those people and identify the populations that are really difficult to count, and then develop strategies around how we can make sure those people get counted. Once and only once is kind of their motto. So the members that are on there, I'll just read them off real quick. Terry Bacchus from City of Pendleton, Rob Corbett, City of Pilot Rock, excuse me, Terry's with Pilot Rock. Rob Corbett with Pendleton. Blair Larson, Stanfield. Tony Minthorn is the census rep for the tribe. Clint Spencer is Hermiston. Laurel Sweeney, Milton Freewater, and Commissioner Murdoch has agreed to serve as an ex officio member, and I've helped staff the steering committee by providing outreach and meeting notes, etc. So it's been a pretty fun opportunity so far. It's a great way that the county can provide support to our local communities.
We've actually been involved in this for some time, and based on the response of all kinds of entities here, not just cities, but any entity you can think of in the community that understands the value of counting every single person. When we were at the NACO Legislative Conference, I attended everything they had related to census. Actually, during that informal vendor opportunity, I met with the Census Bureau, but also I went to the Rural Action Caucus, which has 500-600 people there, and the census, that was the whole topic of that Rural Action Caucus, was the census. And they asked how many counties in the country had actually identified a committee and were moving ahead aggressively with the census. And there was not 10 of us in the room out of that whole group who raised our hands.
Wow.
That actually had a committee. On the other hand, there are some very large communities in the country that have actually budgeted, budgeted millions of dollars to support the work of their census committee. Because you can imagine in a city like Los Angeles, or a county like Los Angeles with 10 million people, they clearly understand the impact of getting everybody involved. So I applaud Bob for being well, and Rob Corbett, the city manager for Pendleton, has been active in helping get this off the ground. But Bob's been willing to provide the leadership, understands the impact of this on Umatilla County, and obviously at $2,500 a person, that's really critical. And I also applaud our design, and that is wherever we have census workers, they're going to be reflective of the people that they're working with. That's why the tribes are there. Obviously, working in the Hispanic community, our whole mission is to have it look like the people that are being counted. So, a great design.
Very good. Other questions?
Since my name's on there, John, I'll let you make the motion.
I can do that. Well, Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion that we place those individuals on our complete county committee and adopt Board Order 2019-018.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt Order BCC 2019-018, which forms the Complete Count Committee and appoints committee members to it. Is there further discussion? Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Bob.
I believe I have the next agenda item as well.
I
I
believe
think
you
you
do.
do.
So this is the approval of the Athena Wesson Education and Resources Enhancement Committee, or AWARE program. As you know, these are funds that are available to Athena and Weston community groups and the school, etc., that are derived from wind dollars in that area. And I'm the newest member of the committee, and representing the county, and Commissioner Schaefer is also a member. But we recently met, and there were 2 grants from the 2018 cycle that weren't able to be completed, and so the committee determined that we were supportive of allowing them to access the remaining funds to finish out their projects from last year. And then for this year, we had a total of $153,000 available, and we had grant amounts that came in at just over $168,000. So we were really close to the amount of money we had available, and we received 10 different applications. The determination was that we would fund all of them, and there was one project that we are going to fund a portion of it, and if there's available money left over, then the committee determined that they would like that money to go to finishing out that project. That project was sound systems for the baseball and softball fields at Athena. I can read off the other projects if you'd like. There was a project request for pole building storage at the Athena Weston School District, painting tender for the East Umatilla County Rural Fire Protection District, the Franklin Street Bridge in Weston. They are using, I believe it was $50,000 as matching funds for money that they're receiving from the state for a bridge replacement. Adams Snack Shack rebuild. This supports a Triangle Little League, which covers that whole area out there. And Hall of Fame display at Athena High School. The Gem Theater project. There was a project for playground asphalt replacement at Athena Elementary. A project in the school, the H&R Block Challenge, which teaches students about budgeting and other life skills, and then the drinking fountain project at the elementary school. So those are the projects that were selected, and we're seeking your approval for those today.
In years past, this year we were like Bob said, we were only 15,000 more in requests than what we had for funds available. There's been years where we've had $100,000 more in requests than what we had funds for available. So we've gotten really good at saying no to certain projects. We didn't have to have that problem so much this year as in years past, so that was kind of refreshing. A couple things that you don't see on there any longer. The Athena Weston track project, that's not up there. You didn't see that up there because it's completed. And they're running district-wide meets on that at that facility. The other thing that's not on there that you've seen just about every other year is the Athena pool. That has been complete. And these are projects that would never have seen the light of day if it hadn't been for this program. So it was a great project. So and I thank you for your work on that, Bob. And because my name's on that, I'll let you make the motion.
Yeah, well, I don't want to make this Bob Walter Day, but
It seems to be anyway.
historically have served on that committee, but one of the things I think the county's been interested in is having our directors and our leaders involved in not just Pendleton, but all of the communities of the county. Absolutely. Bob is a resident of Athena and agreed to represent the commission on that committee as a resident of Athena, and I just think that's a good practice to have people active in their local community. So I appreciate his willingness to do that. So with that, I'll move that we adopt order number BCC 2019-021.
Second.
Moved and seconded to adopt BCC 2019-021, approving the grants totaling $150,000 from AWARE. Further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
I'm done now. Thank you.
Wow.
I'm sorry we didn't have balloons for you, too.
Next item on the agenda is reclassification of positions, and Kim Weisenflue, come forward.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm here, do you want my, Kim Weisenflue, Program Manager, Community Developmental Disabilities Program for the county. And I'm here before you to ask for 3 reclassifications. 2 of them would be program specialists moved to service coordinators, and 1 would be to temporarily alter our office assistant 3 position to be a 0.5 FTE office assistant 3 and a 0.5 FTE program specialist. The reason for these requests is I was before you 8 or 9 months ago to actually ask for the 2 program specialist positions. In the time that we were able to hire, the jobs that we initially thought that they would do ongoing have been caught up, and we have determined that it's not a good use of our resources to continue them at program specialist level because they're not able to do more technical case management duties in which the majority of our budget is through a targeted case management billable system. And so by altering these positions to reclassifying these positions to service coordinators, we will be able to increase our revenue, our ability to bring in revenue, as well as do a better job of working in a case management model with the individuals we serve. As far as the office assistant position, we have a very unique situation where we are responsible for all of the abuse investigations for anybody who has been determined eligible for developmental disabilities who are over the age of 18. So we have an adult abuse investigator. Her name is Tamara Bach. In the time that we have had that position, things have altered as far as how the state is requiring redaction and reports and the timeliness. Our Office Assistant 3 has actually learned on the job how to do transcription and redacting, and therefore that duty has been taken off of the adult abuse investigator and myself. And so it made sense to make that a part-time program specialist position specific to the person who's in that position because they have the skills to it, and that's why we're asking for it to be temporary versus a full-time change. So all of the money that the increase in salaries and stuff is non-general fund money. We're able to absorb it in our current budget, and it won't change any of our current plans.
That amounts to some $18,500, is that correct?
Yes, a little less than $18,500.
Questions?
No.
We have a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded to approve. Further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
You know, maybe we ought to have a motion to provide major benefit increases for all the directors and near the front row.
Next item on the agenda, community corrections vehicle bids.
Too late.
Here a second. So
Good morning, Commissioners. Dale Premer, Director, Umatilla County Community Justice, 4705 Northwest Pioneer Place. So for the better part of a year and a half, going on 2 years, I've had a vehicle budgeted specifically for a couple POs out of my Hermiston office. If you're familiar with Dan Medor or Omar Silva, you'll know both of them are between 6'4" and 6'5", 260 to 300, and putting them in an Impala with a cage in it is an interesting thing to watch. So I've been waiting to purchase a recycled Explorer out of the sheriff's office as they were to do their vehicle replacement. But in the last year and a half or so, they haven't had anything come available. And then so I got a hold of them last week and said, you know, when can I expect something for us to be able to move forward? And they said at least not for another year. So I've had this budgeted, and so what I'm asking is to move forward, have the vehicle replacement committee solicit bids on a used Explorer in the same model type that we would use out of the sheriff's office for a police type vehicle, because by the time you place a cage and all of the other stuff you would need to have in it for transport, and add that to an individual that's the size of the folks that I need to accommodate, that appears to me to be the classification of vehicle we would need to look at. I'm asking that we find something that's used with warranty, and just a cursory look online, it would appear that the $30,000 I have budgeted, should be more than sufficient for that. And again, these are funds out of the Community Corrections Grant and Aid, so a non-general fund impact.
Quick question, Doug. Dale mentioned the vehicle replacement fund. That this would not be part of that program, would it? Would it be more of a direct program?
Well, they would still coordinate through the committee, but
committee-
the actual
the
funds
committee
will
would
be
do the
coming
work
from
funding.
the community corrections budget.
Okay.
So, kind of are you looking for one that's outfitted like as a police vehicle, or would just a regular Explorer
I
work
don't need,
with,
I don't need the full outfit, because we're not plugging, the police vehicles, when you order them packaged like that,
Yep.
all the lighting and all the radio, all that stuff is just plug and play.
Right.
I don't need that. All I need is a cage.
Okay.
So
So that would fit in the standard.
So I'm just saying,
Explorer.
find a standard, I can save a lot of money by
Yeah.
going out and just finding some standard used vehicle that's a year or two old with warranty, and plug a cage in it, and I'll save $10,000-15,000 off of the outfitting of a new vehicle.
Gotcha. Okay. I would make a motion to approve that request.
Second?
Approved. Moved and seconded. Further questions? Those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you.
Motion carries.
Have a good,
Just glad to see you in the front row.
I know, I just want that, so when you do my evaluation.
I thought he would return to the front row, though.
He did not.
He did not return, did he? I think next item on the agenda is the purchase of a toilet. I believe, is that you, sir?
No, I just thought I'd sit in the front
Oh.
row for you guys.
I believe it involves Mr. Fellows, who will take the long
I'm just glad it's
walk to
not
the
Bob
front.
again.
Robert's here to back me up. Good morning, Tom Fellows, Public Works Director. So, approximately a year ago, Harris Park went out for grants for a vault toilet. We received a grant from Oregon State Parks. They'll only pay up to 50% of a project. We also received a grant from CTUIR, and between the two grants, now we have enough money to complete the project. Estimates are for the completed project are going to be in the $24,000 to $25,000 range. Today, we're actually requesting the board approval to go out and purchase the actual vault toilet. This will be done on contract, on a state contract. The amount for the vault toilet delivered to Harris Park is going to be $16,979.77.
You said you had grants for this,
Yes,
and they were from CTUIR and whom?
Oregon State Parks.
Oregon Parks.
So general fund dollars are,
No, this, and any additional funding money would come out of the park fund anyway, so it's non-general, anything would be non-general fund money.
Is that Wild Horse or CTUIR?
Wild Horse, I'm sorry, it's,
I don't remember that one. Oh, good.
yeah. Well, we applied for another Wild Horse grant, and
Good.
And
there's already one up there like this, isn't there?
we did one of these 2 years ago,
Yeah.
and put a new one up there. This is in addition to that. The park has been seeing a lot of increased use, even in the day use area.
Right.
And so this is just to, I guess, enhance what we already have going on and just make it a little better.
Well, I've heard a lot of good things about the one that's up there, so I'm excited to see this one. So with that, I'd make the motion that we approve that request.
I'll second it on behalf of the Harris Park cheerleader.
Moved and seconded to approve. Is there further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item's yours as well.
Yeah, well, I'm not quite as popular as Bob Walter, but I'll do my best here.
I don't know,
So-
it's beginning to look that way.
So today, the Public Works Department is here to get authorization to purchase a new John Deere motor grader. This grader will be purchased off from a Sourcewell contract. The list price of the new grader is $541,447. After the contract comes into effect, that knocks that price down to $327 $779. They are offering us $150,000 for a older motor grader that we're trading in. So our actual out-of-budget cost is going to be $177,779 for this new grader.
So you're looking at getting a grader that's valued at $541,447 for $177,779?
After trade-in, yes, with the trade-in. So it's...
I make the motion to approve that. That's it right there.
I'm trying to read that.
So before the Sourcewell contract, just the cost of a new motor grader is $541,000. The contract price of that machine
okay, that's
is
fine.
$327,000.
Second, I get it.
And then with the trade-in, $150,000 trade-in, our out-of-pocket cost is $177,000.
I get it, thank you.
Been moved and seconded. Further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, gentlemen.
While he's there, could we take a point of privilege?
Yes, you may.
I'd just be interested in a very quick summary of what your graders and your staff were doing during an unprecedented winter storm. Seriously. I mean, what does that look like?
Well, I'm not really sure.
Is that all right?
Yes.
How to paint the picture of what it looks like, but on February 4th, as you all know, we started a snow event that the groundhog did not predict, and so we've got 9 motor graders. I believe we've got 6 plow trucks and other various pieces of equipment that we can utilize for snow removal. We had everything out at least 5 days a week. We on any weekend or extraordinary events when we had wind or whatnot, we generally put our exempt staff usually goes out on that. So we tend to fulfill the weekend stuff and let folks go home to their families as much as possible. The entire event seemed to revolve around snow during the day. We go plow the snow. The wind would blow that night. We'd come back the next morning. We'd plow what we plowed the day before. and that just went repeat after repeat after repeat. The staff did an excellent job. I know that there was a lot of areas that it seemed like people felt like they got forgotten, but in fact we just couldn't get to everybody all the time. By the end of the event, I think we had 2 of our motor graders were broke down, 4 of our plow trucks were broke down, and we were scraping the bottom of the barrel to try to keep stuff going. It's extremely hard on equipment working in that kind of an environment, and you're just pounding it day after day after day. It takes its toll. So I don't know if that explains that. Did you have any further questions on that?
No, I mean, I know we have more roads than any other county, but and plowing is always an issue, but I really don't know that people are aware of the scope of our fleet.
Yeah,
or their presence in the county. I mean, it's obviously there's a lot of roads, but if I'm not mistaken, that's 14 units that are out there plowing.
Yes, and day after day after day, and like I say, it seems like some of the folks in the outer lying areas we don't get to as much, but when we have to start at the center hubs like Pendleton and Milton Freewater and Hermiston and work our way out every day, you only get out so far. You come back the next day and you start over again, and so it really creates a lot of difficulty, and it creates a lot of difficulty for people in the county. I was pleasantly surprised that I mean, we obviously had a number of phone calls, but people were very patient and seemed to be grateful for what we could get done. And so we did our best, and staff did an excellent job. They stepped up and and nobody complained about working extra hours, and it worked, and we managed to get the job done eventually.
Well, I had a very fortuitous experience with someone on Powerline Road who called me and said, is there a chance they can come by our house? I said, I'll see what we can do. I have to talk to the roadmaster. He called back 5 minutes later and said, the plow just went by. That's absolutely amazing. I said, well, we try to please.
Well, we don't always get everywhere we want to get, but in that case, you know, we made you look good, Commissioner.
Amazing timing.
Tom, I'll tell you, on behalf of the board, we appreciate you and the staff and the extra work and the hard work that was done during that snow event. And carry that message back to your crew.
I will do that. Thank you very much.
I heard nothing but great things, so.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Well, that's always nice. Remember that when you hear the bad things.
Okay, next item on our agenda has to do with a property auction.
Just here to answer any questions you might have. This is pretty.
Essentially, what we're being asked to do is to authorize a sale of 10 properties.
Right.
Sets a sale date for 10 a.m., May the 7th, and establishes terms for the sale.
Yes, sir. Our annual event. And maybe just for clarity for Commissioner Schaefer, if he's not aware, when we get to this point in time, this has basically been 7 years in doing.
Is that all?
So after year 4, we start the foreclosure process, and then we have 2 years right of redemption. 7th year, if there's no activity, we take title and we'll liquidate the property.
7 years.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Now, that's not true for personal property. Personal property can start after 1 year of delinquency.
Right, yeah.
This is real property.
Okay.
And the results from these sales, have they been mixed or generally successful?
Generally successful. Properties that don't typically sell or properties that.
These are all new properties. There aren't any leftovers.
No carryovers.
No carryovers.
I make a motion we adopt order number TX 2019-01.
Motion to approve TX 2019-01. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Is there an aye over there, or was it a 2
I said aye.
to 1 vote, or 2 to nothing?
I hacked it out.
Okay.
Is that what that was?
Okay, next item on the agenda is a request to provide sponsorship for the Umatilla County Leadership Class, putting on a workforce summit on May the 23rd, 2019. The request is for $7,500. Can you give a little of the history of this, Mr. Murdoch?
Yeah, well, typically, the Chamber of Commerce has had a economic development luncheon in February, and they've gone through some transitions this year, and they're reformatting their economic development committee. And I happened to be at a chamber board meeting when they were talking about, in the course of reformatting their committee, that they might not have a major event of that type. This was all in a little period of time when I think that day or the next day, we had our staff meeting in here, and if you'll recall, we had Josh Davies, the speaker, who I think we were all quite impressed with. Yeah. And at about that time also, somewhere in there, Susan Bauer told me that the 13 members of the leadership development class were interested in sponsoring a major event.
And I do believe we actually have one of those members in the room.
Yeah, I'll let her add to this. Yeah. So anyway, all of this went together. I talked to the president-elect of the chamber and the economic development committee, and kind of need and opportunity came together. This has turned out it's going to be a 2-day event with training, but also there's going to be the luncheon as a high point, and he's going to be the guest speaker. They expect 400, 500 people at this event. The Rotary Club historically has changed their meeting from Monday to Thursday that week. That will be the regular meeting of the Rotary Club that particular week. But anyway, the committee is very dynamic, very aggressive. I occasionally am asked to provide a bit of advice, but not much, because they're very anxious to do this themselves. They made a presentation to the Chamber Board yesterday morning? Yeah. And it was extremely well received. In fact, the Chamber Director said, maybe you could do this on a permanent basis. I don't think that's the plan. But I got to tell you that for wanting an experience of doing a major event, it's way more, I don't know, it's way more major than they planned, but it's turning out to be quite a deal. If you get 400 people there, they've never had 400 people at that luncheon. So it's on economic development in terms of workforce, work ethics. It's really pretty exciting. So, Kim, I don't know what I've left out.
I think you've pretty much covered it.
Well, I heard Rachel was part of the radio program yesterday morning. I heard them present at Chamber, so it's pretty fresh information. So, but their classes, I think we ought to be pretty proud of what our leadership class is doing as part of this experience. But it's a huge contribution to the community.
It is.
You know, and I think they much appreciate the fact that the Economic Development Department of the county, which is headed by Commissioner Elfring, is weighed in on support of their efforts, because it's going to have a profound impact. And while it's historically been a Pendleton event, they've much expanded it. I thought they've gone to all the chambers and all the communities in the county to make it countywide. It's genuinely a countywide event. But I think I heard one of the members yesterday say it was 16 counties there. They're inviting people from all over Eastern Oregon.
Oh, wow.
It's an event worthy of that level of participation, but certainly it's not Pendleton centric. It's a countywide event. So
Certainly countywide.
yeah, so I would move
I'd just like to point out briefly, too, that we've, I believe it's going to be Umatilla County Economic Development and some other funds. I think we had discussed that, Robert.
well, I'm probably going to be the source.
So it's been moved and seconded. Seconded.
Now it is.
I thought I heard a second come from that corner.
You did.
Yes.
I just did.
Just further discussion. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is a joining in the PERS Solutions Coalition. And I believe we have on our screen there the request of what is being requested. And that is that that our name be listed publicly as a sponsor in the efforts of the PERS Solution for Public Services Coalition to urge the Oregon legislature to enact reforms to PERS this legislative session. And that's what their request is for, and for us to join with them. And other than that, any questions?
I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion?
No, but I'm happy we're doing it.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I believe we are to the end of our agenda. We are
I just wanted to say one little thing.
under Commissioner reports, is
Yeah.
it? Yes.
I didn't see that on here somewhere, but, oh, there it is, Commissioner reports. I went to the Ways and Means hearing Friday evening, and I just, there's a lot of people throughout the county, but we had some people I wanted to kind of mention. Roy Blaine was there. He testified on behalf of state courts. Susan McHenry for Lipsick, she was there for testifying, and some of our department heads. Joe Fumara with Public Health, Sheriff Terry Rowan was there, Amy Ashton Williams with Health and Human Services, and our very own Commissioner Bill Elfering was there. So I just want to thank those who took the time to testify at that hearing. So I think it was very well received. One of the comments that I heard from one of the state senators from the other side of the state was how nice it is to come and see the differences between the Portland area and seeing the vast expanse that we have out in Umatilla County, and how important it is for those legislators to see the differences between their 2-block radius of their constituents versus what like Senator Hansel or Barretto or Smith have out here. So I just think it was a well-attended event, and I just want to again thank everybody who testified. So,
Mr. Murdoch?
Yeah, I want to make a suggestion, but after the meeting, I want to make a suggestion on something we might do for Public Works. Say it now, I guess. Some 2 or 3 years, 4 years ago, when they apprehended remember?
I remember that.
Somebody up in the North County, somebody who was a suspect who was fleeing and some other stuff. 4 members of the department apprehended somebody. Well, the Public Works is kind of like, they're never visible, and they're kind of unsung heroes and far flung. And so we went out to the 3 commissioners, went out to Public Works, gathered the entire Public Works staff, and just had a barbecue luncheon to thank them for the kind of stuff that they do, because I don't think people understand what they do in the dead of night in the absolute worst weather all over the county. And John's their liaison, but maybe it's time we did something to demonstrate appreciation to them. I know it was extremely meaningful to them.
yeah, I would not be opposed to that at
I
all.
think it's a great idea.
I do too.
They certainly did extra duty during that storm.
Well, I would.
One thing, and they do. I mean, it's not just during a storm. It's all year long that they're out there on those roads, straightening them out, putting them back
it's
together.
kind of
All people seem to see sometimes is a pothole.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of lonely work. I mean, but yet I know the people out in the far ends of the county have a personal relationship with the greater operator.
Yeah, oh, absolutely they do.
And it's not without its danger. We lost one here
I know.
a few years ago.
Yep.
But, so there is danger in being out there. So that's a great idea.
I think it would be, I certainly wouldn't want to infringe on Public Works, since they have a capable liaison who could head up this effort.
I think so too.
So,
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's a great idea. So.
Okay. Good enough. Without any further ado, I'll declare us adjourned. Turn around, look at that clock.